Hey guys, what's going on? It's Josh here from Kenwood, and in today's workshop, we're going to be talking about system design with our KAC-M5024BT. So I love talking about this amplifier, and I'm really excited to get into what I think makes this product unique and also a great solution for any of your marine or power sports segments. Now, with this amp, there's a lot of versatility that can be found, and that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. So let's get into it. Now, with the KAC-M5024BT, one of the first things we like to talk about is the actual power output itself. Now, as you can see on the screen here, we rated it 50 watts by 4 at 4 ohms and 75 watts by 4 at 2 ohms. However, there's several videos out on YouTube. I would recommend going to check them out, where you can see that these numbers actually greatly exceed what we rate. One of my personal favorites is this amp is actually bridgeable, which we advertise at 150 watts RMS. However, that actually gives us about 230 watts of RMS power when we bridge the outputs on this product. So we want to start off by letting you know it absolutely has the output needed to be a great solution for you in these power sports environments. Now, the part that makes this product unique specifically is the fact that you see that Bluetooth controller right there in front of the amplifier. Now, that's because this is an all-in-one type solution. You open the box up, that Bluetooth controller is there with a connection that runs from that to the amp itself. And then there's a lot of versatility that's even found in the actual mounting of this. So one thing I'm excited to share is we attached a 1/4-20 thread onto the backside of this remote. The reason that's really cool is because a lot of your power sports environments have several different types of camera mounts that can be found. For example, GoPros that are often used in these environments. And this 1/4-20 thread pattern is the same thread pattern that's used in the majority of your types of cameras that are out there. Meaning if you're looking for some kind of custom mount, odds are you'll have a really easy time finding it. But if you're not looking for that, you also have the ability to flush mount this, which we provide the flush mount cup for you in the box. So knowing that you have several options of how to install this remote is a great way to start off. But let's talk a little bit about the remote itself. So when we look at the remote, the first thing I want you to notice is the tactile volume knob located right there on the center. This was important to us because we understand that in these types of environments, a lot of our customers may be utilizing gloves to stay warm, for example. So even if you do have larger gloves on, you still have an easy to operate Bluetooth controller with these selections here. Something else that's really cool about this is we built in 7 different EQs. So if you want to change that EQ curve, depending on how your customer prefers their music, you have the ability to do that. And it's also reflected based off of the LEDs you see illuminated on the front of the remote. But my personal favorite feature, and something that I'm going to talk about throughout the course of this workshop, is what happens when we press and hold that EQ button. You may notice right underneath that in smaller text, it has a little word that says pre-out. That is where I personally get really excited about this, because this amplifier is the only one in our lineup that has a left and a right output, allowing us to expand this system design. And we have direct control of that output by pressing and holding this. So a perfect example would be if your customer has a subwoofer connected to this and they want to control that separately from the overall volume. They can hold this button to access that pre-out level, and then that volume knob becomes a bass knob. Now let's talk a little bit more about some expandability. I told you that this product can be used in bridged configurations. So you'll notice when you take a look at the side of this, where all of the adjustments can be found, we have a selectable 2, 3, or 4 channel output mode. Now that helps us out based off of what type of system we're going to be utilizing this for. Whether it's a traditional 4-speaker configuration, we could take that from 4 to 3. Let's say we had 2 full range and we wanted to bridge channels 3 and 4. We can then configure that to be able to do this. Or if we want to get absolutely crazy, we have the ability to bridge both of those to have some crazy power running to our full range speakers. A lot of our customers are using these for things like tower speakers that typically require a little bit more power. But when we're configuring in these different aspects, we also have to make sure that we have the ability to adjust the frequencies that are going to those speakers, because subwoofers don't want the same frequencies as a full range speaker, for example. And I'm happy to say that you have a lot of adjustability that's found on the bottom of this adjustment panel here, where you can see you have selectable high pass or low pass filter options. Now let's say in the example of using a 3-speaker configuration, we want to run high pass on channels 1 and 2, because those are the channels for our full range, and then we could run low pass on our subwoofers. Very similar to what you would see whenever you interact with your car's receiver. These same types of adjustments are offered. This is just more or less a visual indication of what's actually happening whenever we're configuring these. So with a high pass filter enabled, we could set that at 80 hertz, and then 80 hertz and up is the only thing going out to our full range speakers. And if we are utilizing that low pass filter, we could then do that exact same thing for the subwoofer, which would allow us to have those lower frequencies only going directly to the speaker. Now, the other side of this is the expandability, and I want to talk a little bit about how I think our product shines in this category. I mentioned my personal favorite feature is that pre-out level adjustment, and that's because that gives us access to a lot of other products that can be added on to this specific one. So there's a lot of different ways we can configure this, but one of those ways that a lot of our dealers have found to utilize is creating zones off of this specific amp. Now, in this configuration, we would look at a full range amplifier with a wired Bluetooth controller, and then we could take a look at our KAC-M5014, which is another full range amplifier that's designed to accept that input or that signal from a source. Now, what's great about this is all these products are built to the same standards. You'll have your IP67 ratings, your salt corrosion resistant and shock resistant, which is incredibly important for a lot of the off-road type environments. But the KAC-M5014 has something that I think makes it a great contender when we're looking at how to set up zones in some of these applications. So let's say that we have a side-by-side or a UTV, and that side-by-side or UTV has tower speakers that are located maybe on the front and rear of it. And then we also have full range speakers that are, spread throughout the interior cabin of that vehicle. If we're utilizing the 5014 to run those tower speakers, we have a really cool option that exists here. You may notice this adjustment panel looks a little bit different than what the 5024 does, and that's because it's a full range traditional. So we have some of those adjustments that can be found here. My personal favorite is this input switch that's located down here on the very bottom. You'll see that highlighted, and right now we have it set over to a 2-channel configuration in this image, but I want to explain on why I think that's a great feature. Traditionally, a lot of our receivers would have 3 sets of pre-outs. However, not every receiver does. As a matter of fact, most vehicles that come pre-outfitted with the receiver traditionally would only have a left and a right. Now, with this input selection, we can move this over to 2-channel mode. And if we go back to that analogy of the 5024BT, we now have the ability to be able to run that left and right directly into this amplifier, switch that to 2-channel input mode, and then we have 4 channels of output that are all ran without the need of Y adapters or any expandability on connections. We're simplifying the connection process, but still guaranteeing a great output. So by having that ease of installation on that and that configuration that we just discussed, that means that we can have the 5024BT as our source, the 5014 as the expanded amplifier utilizing those pre-outs. And then whenever we press and hold that EQ button, it gives us that pre-out level adjustment to be able to separately adjust the volume that's running to those tower speakers as opposed to the ones that are being utilized on the interior cabin of that vehicle. There's a lot of great ways that our dealers have found to utilize this product and the expandability that can be found on it to run something like a subwoofer, expanding beyond that to a monoblock amplifier based off of those pre-outs, and then having that volume control become your sub-level control, or even having that 5014 configuration that allows us to create separate zones based off of this one amplifier solution, I think are a lot of great reasons of why the KAC-M5024BT should be one of your top contenders in the power sports arena. Once again, Josh here from Kenwood. I want to thank you for taking the time to learn more about our KAC-M5024BT. For any more information, please head over to our website at kenwood.com.